Let me make a slight correction. Instead of Mr. Suresh Mathur, we have Dr. Fesharaki here amidst us. And I'm very happy to meet Dr. Fesharaki, who is an old friend and a very distinguished, internationally renowned expert. In fact, he is a guru. And even 10 years ago, when I used to be secretary in the ministry, I used to treat him as a guru and teacher. So we have all learned from Dr. Fesharaki, whose lifelong experience, expertise in this area is well known, particularly in India, South Asia and neighboring parts. So let me welcome you once again, and we have a very distinguished panel. As you have heard, we have Mr. K.P. Roy, who currently senior consultant with GTT France. Then we have Mr. Jim Nicholson, senior vice president of Argus, a very well-known organization which is very active in energy sector, and it publishes various technical journals in energy, and we shall be, in fact, be having another conference, a very important conference in association with Argus sometime next month, which they have been planning in India for quite some time, and this I would think would perhaps next month their conference would be the first of its kind. Then we have Professor Robert Armstrong, as mentioned earlier, a Chevron Professor of Chemical Engineering, MIT, and Director, MIT Energy Initiative. So today, in this last session, we are discussing LNG industry, future trends and opportunities. I will try to draw a framework and give you a perspective of the importance of gas, particularly for a country like India, and then I will leave the important subject to be taken up by my worthy panelists, like the distinguished speakers who are present here. Now let me take up the world scenario which obtains today in respect of primary energy consumption. Now, having taken these statistics from the BP statistics of 2013 published in 2014, the total primary energy consumption in the year 2013 in the world in oil equivalent terms was 12,730 million metric tons, in which the share of USA was 17.3%, China 22.4%, India 4.7%, Russia 5.5%, Japan 3.7%. Now you have seen that USA has 17.8% share of world primary energy consumption and China has 22.4%, whereas India has only 4.7%. Now a very rule of the thumb, kind of a broad indication that one can observe over last 50 years in the development process that the countries have followed all around the world has been that the GDP per capita has been very much proportional to the energy consumption per capita. It is not to say that there are no variations. There are, of course, very important variations. For example, the countries which are very rich in energy resource endowment, there the consumption per capita will be very high, even if the GDP per capita is not proportionately high. And some countries which are not rich in resource endowment of energy resources, there the GDP per capita may be high in proportion to the consumption per capita of the energy resources. But there is no country which has shown great progress in development and in creation of wealth and in development without making use of sufficient resources of energy. So the point I am making here is that, as you can see, China's consumption of energy resources is now more than the China's share of population globally. Whereas India's consumption of energy resources is much less than India's population globally. The per capita consumption on average, India's would be about 1/3 and China's would be about 1.5, 1.2, 1.5. USA would be about 10 times per capita average, and of course European countries will be about 8 to 10 times. So India has to go a long way. Even if India tries all the energy efficiency parameters, the energy consumption in India will continue to grow in the foreseeable future. Now coming to the fuel basket, this was the total energy, primary energy consumption. Now let us divide it into various baskets, various kinds of fuels. The global situation is that oil constitutes 32.87%, gas 23.7%, coal 30.05%, hydro 6.7%, nuclear 4.42%, and renewable 2.20%. This is the global situation as it obtained in the year 2013. Coming to India, the scenario is quite different. In India, the figures given for 2013 show that the oil constituted in the Indian basket of fuel consumption 29.41%, gas 7.75%, coal 54.45%, hydro little over 5%, nuclear about 1.3%, and renewable 2%. So it shows two things. Number one, India's energy consumption will keep on increasing as India develops and grows faster and faster, number one. Number two, the energy basket of various fuels in India is quite different from what is the situation globally. The consumption of gas in India is much less than the global average. Global average is about 23-24%. In India, it is close to 8%. It had gone up to about 10% when we had KG Basin full gas supply of 60 million cubic meters per day, or going even beyond that. But when that fell down to about 10 million cubic meters per day, the consumption has also proportionally come down to about 8%. When it had to grow from 10% above, it fell down. So in India, therefore, the gas consumption will grow much faster than the rate of growth of total energy consumption. The gas consumption has therefore to grow much faster. The reason being that between the various fossil fuels, gas is considered to be least insofar as the carbon emissions are concerned. And therefore, the preference is now to shift more and more to gas. In India, of course, we have found another use of gas which is not so common elsewhere, that is in the transport sector. So in India, as far as the other uses of gas will increase, like its consumption in power, consumption in fertilizer, and consumption in petrochemical, etc., its consumption in transport and its consumption as a fuel in about 200 million households will also increase manifold. Now, where this gas is to come from, and why is the gas consumption in India proportionately low? It is low not because people are preferring other fuels to gas, or there is an inherent advantage in using other fuels in respect of gas. It is low because the availability of gas is a big issue. India, of course, does not produce much of oil also, and as you know, 75 to 80% of oil consumed in India is imported. But oil import is much more simpler than import of gas. And oil prices are almost homogenized all over the world. So all international prices, there are of course differences. So WTI may be, when I was in the ministry, always WTI used to be higher than Brent. But now WTI is slightly lower than the Brent. The Dubai crude, of course, is lower than the Brent. Dubai crude also, because Brent is considered to be lighter and better crude. But the price difference is not much. Whereas if you take gas, since the transportation and handling of gas is an issue, is not so easy, the gas prices vary very significantly. Now again, quoting from the BP statistics, I have here figures of last several years. In 2013, the natural gas prices in Germany and UK were in the range of $10 to $11 per million BTU. In US Henry Hub, they were 3.71, and Canada, Alberta, they were 2.93. And of course, equivalent price of oil was 18.25, and LNG import price of Japan was 16.17. So you see, in America and Canada, the gas prices are in the range of $3. In Japan, they become $16, and in India, different sources have different prices, both as natural gas and as imported LNG. So over a period of time, my expectation is that the market will catch up. These are artificial prices in the sense that free movement of gas and free and enough production of LNG to be traded between countries has not been taking place. But slowly that situation may also be changing. Now, given the statistics of trade of gas, because gas can be transported either through pipeline or through the liquefied mode as LNG. In last year, that is the year given here of 2013, about 33% of total gas production was traded. About 3,000 million tons of oil equivalent of gas which was produced and consumed in year 2013. 710 million tons of oil equivalent of gas was traded through pipeline, and major beneficiaries who received gas through pipeline included Germany, then France and some other countries. Of course, here at that time, USA was also a major beneficiary, getting it from Canada. And about 325 million tons of oil equivalent of gas was traded through liquefied mode. Major beneficiaries being Japan, 119, and South Korea, 64, and then of course India and China are also coming up. So the point I am making is that first, the gas consumption in countries like India and China will increase. Number two, in order to provide more gas to these countries, the price variations which are internationally happening at different benchmark points, that will have to go away. There will have to be a much more free market trade of gas than happens today. And that can happen more by having more and more LNG produced and traded. Pipelines have been traditionally favored for trade of gas, but pipelines, as you will see, the consumption now is going to increase more in the Asian region, India, China, etc. So the gas producer countries which are there mostly having large surpluses like Russia, Iran and Qatar. Russia can still supply through pipeline to China but cannot supply to India. Iran, Qatar, Turkmenistan, with whom India has been talking for supply of gas through pipeline, these projects have got stuck because of geopolitical reasons over last 10, 15, 20 years. And due to various changes that are taking place in technology, it is now possible for LNG to compete with the gas traded through pipeline. The three processes, additional processes in LNG, liquefaction, transportation and regasification, as against a single process of transportation through pipeline. The new technologies will make it such that the price difference will become much less. And when you buy LNG and trade in LNG, then the geopolitical considerations do not come in such a big way as they do in case of pipeline transportation of gas. Even in Europe, where most gas is transported through pipeline from Russia, you see the conditions which are taking place in Ukraine. Every day there is an issue whether the gas supplies will continue as such or not. So if more and more producers shift to LNG, more and more consumers take LNG, prepare themselves to take LNG, these difficulties will be overcome. So in this kind of framework, I think the future and the opportunities in LNG are quite bright, and India must look at LNG more favorably, should look at supplies from various sources, Middle East, Australia, Russia, and all these sources, because as I mentioned, I foresee the gas consumption in India growing at a much faster pace than the average consumption of energy resources. And to take care of that, availability of LNG and its regasification in India, the facilities have to be developed. So with these words, let me thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share my views here. And I will now invite the distinguished panelist here. May I invite Professor Armstrong to kindly make his presentation.